That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Rohith Dharr.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves in the midst of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, having started a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight we're talking Moon Knight Episode 2, Summon the Suit.
Well, wait, do you mean summon the soup?
God. All right. So I'll throw it right to you guys. Rohith, how you doing? Nice to have you once again, as always.
Thank you.
What do y'all think of this episode?
Well, first of all, Rohith, how you been feeling about the show? I mean, 2 episodes in.
Of course, yeah.
I like it so far. I don't know if it's too early for me to say this, and I would say that so far, in terms of highlights of the first 2 episodes, I think Ethan Hawke's portrayal of Arthur Harrow puts him really at the top of I really like. I think he's my favorite villain of all the Disney Plus shows that Marvel's putting out. And part of that is just, and a lot of that's to Ethan Hawke's performance, his ideology, and just the way he carries himself. Just has a lot of gravitas. And also Oscar Isaac's performance. I was surprised when he was initially cast because I know he had reservations about going back into franchise filmmaking after his time in the Star Wars sequels, but he does such a great job, and we were very lucky to see him performing a lot of various personalities and really treating the issue of dissociative identity disorder with the respect that it deserves, but still having a lot of fun with it. And just the overall vibe, especially with the score and just like the certain visuals that are, very in tune with the Egyptian, aspect of the character, and especially with Mohammed Diab being one of the directors who, made it his goal to make sure that Egyptian culture and history is portrayed accurately and not caricaturely. I'm really excited. I really like where things have been going, and I'm really excited where things will be going moving forward.
All right, Dragon, what do you think of the episode?
Yeah, I think this was it was good setting up, the story to come. Yet again, I've been really, again, the pilot really blew me out of the water, and this episode I think is really kind of laying the track. And again, that we've let me put it this way: I know there is a very divisive scene, from what I understand in this episode, for people that will either make or break. Anyone is either like the pilot going into is okay, yeah, we're making some great track, and then there's going to be a moment in this episode that is definitely going to divide people. And well, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or yeah, let's keep it going. But I'm still very invested again in the Stephen Grant character and just kind of his perspective on the journey, and again just kind of knowing very little about Moon. I'm learning I'm getting a good feel for the character. I enjoyed the build up to the Moon Knight segment, so I think we've been kind of striking a good balance between caring about the character and getting all the costumey kind of actiony goodness, which we haven't been going overboard with or underboard with, which could be very easy on a TV budget. So
and they fight so far.
Yeah, there's been a build up to it, and there's been they threw you a curveball, which was nice, and so that's what I'm saying. So far, again, I don't want to be too optimistic here, but it just sounds like I really think they're cracking the code on this show. Because again, think about how amazing this is. I remember I was remarking with this with Super Billy on the Geekvolution Discord. Nice guy, Super Billy. We were talking, and I kind of pointed out to him to hype him up on the show is that this is the first MCU show where there's really no MCU references at all in 2 episodes, which is kind of astonishing. We haven't. It's been all very Moon Knight centric, and even the Moon Knight's Easter eggs are very, very subtle.
See, that's great for you to point that out. That's been a talking point among people, saying that's the show's credit. And think back to Oscar Isaac. Whenever in interviews he talks about what's his favorite MCU thing, really a movie, he always points first to first Iron Man because that's which is a character study. And I think when rewatching Iron Man, it just feels so different because there's no really. It's the beginning of the MCU, so there's really no Easter eggs or references that or that sense of interconnectivity, and it's just just Robert Downey Jr. playing this one character in this world, and you just watch it for two hours or so, and you live in that world. And I think with Moon Knight, like it very much exists in the MCU because there's like the one reference to the GRC, which is a banner of the
It's like a background detail too. It's not really in your face. Like we don't talk about it, we don't reference it. There's no like Thanos snapped us away. None of that.
I think it's by design that it's not as a disconnected, but it doesn't emphasize the interconnectivity because the focus of the show is to try to introduce this character, introduce this mythos that's somewhat complicated, to sort of grapple with the Egyptian mythology.
Like there's enough that we don't have to rest on the laurels of the MCU, which is refreshing, which is what Phase 4 so far has been having some trouble kind of doing on their own of like, okay, we're just going to rest on our laurels here. We're going to throw Eternals at you. And well,
yeah.
Well, for better, depends on who you ask, but better for worse, it's very much like, hey, we're going to launch our own thing, but we're going to introduce a whole bunch. We're going to throw a lot at you instead of one guy with multiple characters in him.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking about like as compared to other MCU projects, like Shang-Chi, I thought was like the least like quote unquote connected to the MCU, and it still had like MCU references. And this is just like, if you took that banner out, you wouldn't know like other moral superheroes exist in this universe.
Yeah. I mean, let me put it this way: the only reference that we have, and this is just not like a reference to the MCU. This is just like the coolest Easter egg ever. From what I understand, what they've done is, I heard this somewhere. I haven't done it myself personally yet, but apparently there's a QR in both episodes. There have been QR codes, and if you scan the QR codes, they give you like a free comic, and the comic
really?
in this set. So here's the thing. So in the first episode, when he's telling the little girl about the the sarcophagus, how like that the whole Egyptian mythology works, they took out everything but the heart because that's where he'd be judged and everything. The reflection of the QR code will give you a copy of I believe the first appearance of Blade.
That is correct.
And in the second episode, when he scans the QR code on the storage locker, that's the first. I want to say the first appearance of Moon Knight, which was in Werewolf by Night, which is getting. Remember,
I thought that's what you got for when you scanned just the QR code in the first episode, and then the second QR code in like the storage locker thing was like just another Werewolf by Night issue that had Moon Knight in it.
Well, maybe you're right. I know like one of them is like the first. I could have sworn one of them's like the first appearance. But the point being, these QR codes, folks, keep an eye out for them because they keep giving you comics. And the cool thing with the whole Werewolf by Night thing is that later, I believe it's supposed to be this year. Halloween, we're getting the Werewolf by Night thing, which I think very simply, I think the simple assumption to make is that Moon Knight's going to be in that Werewolf by Night Halloween special we're getting.
I don't know about that.
We'll see. Well, I'm just saying, it seems like, if there's anything we're subtly building to, which again is not in your face or anything, well, Moon Knight could cross over with these characters like your Blades or your Werewolf by Nights, and we're going to get them, so why not?
Sure. What would be so cool? Like if they ever do that QR code thing in like a future Moon Knight season or film or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that like, I mean, I don't know the logistics of it, but like you scan the QR code, you get like a video clip, which is like a post credit scene for each episode.
That'd be interesting, but yeah, logistically that could be troublesome. But anyway, yeah. I mean, one last thing I want to know about this as we turn over to Tiki is I really like that in regards to the story, we're beginning to raise questions of identity and of sacrifice, which I think, again, kind of like in the Egyptian mythology are kind of big cornerstones in themselves. So I kind of like that we're kind of like taking some of that appeal with the Moon Knight character, and we're very much like looking at it through the DID kind of lens of like, okay, so now we're the person now Stephen Grant is aware of like who he's rooming with. Like the first episode is him like realizing, oh my God, I'm not just me, I'm a few other people. And just kind of come to grips with, do I like these people? Who are these people? And oh my God, I am remotely not anything like this guy. And yet now at the end of this episode, he's in the driver's seat. I don't know how I feel about that. So good stuff.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the best MCU show so far. 2 episodes in. I honestly think the reason why is, like you guys said, it feels so much more self-contained. I made the point that I believe I cited someone else. I think it was Jeremy Johns also pointed out that the first episode feels like a pilot in a good way. It doesn't throw you into the middle of an ongoing story. It isn't like, all right, and here's Bucky and Falcon's continuing adventures. It's Like it genuinely just completely introduces you to something just that's entirely fresh for the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit I do think that there is a little bit of a like I am not sure if like with the 6-episode thing, I'm not sure if 2 episodes in I don't know. Like I don't want to say it's bad pacing. It's certainly not, because the 2 episodes have been really good so far. I just hope that the plot really gets some forward momentum.
I mean,
yeah, considering we're in Egypt, it should be good. I agree with Rohit that the Ethan Hawke stuff is fantastic. I think he was a wonderful choice for a villain. I think that opening scene still just really sticks with me. It pretty much tells you all you need to know about this guy. Yeah. And Ethan Hawke clean shaven is just really disquieting, and I just can't get used to it. Like he barely even looks like the same dude without the goatee. The traditional like trademark Ethan Hawke goatee.
Unless you're familiar with Gattaca.
What?
Unless you're familiar with Gattaca.
Does he not have a goatee in that?
No, he's clean shaven.
Okay. Well, that was a long time
ago. That's why I'm not so blown away by it, because that's my main reference for Ethan Hawke. Oh, yeah, he doesn't have to go.
My main reference for Ethan Hawke is like the Before Sunrise films and stuff like that. So yeah,
he's even in Boyhood.
Yeah, he did.
Did he have a goatee in Training Day?
Yes.
Oh,
okay. Well, there you go.
He was clean shaven in the movie First Reformed, which I've heard good things about.
All right, let's stop taking down the clean shaven argument here. Let's just
all right. So it's like I don't think I'm as blown away by the series as some people are, but that is honestly just because I'm kind of burned out by superhero stuff. But
isn't this refreshing though?
It's good. It's good. It's definitely got a lot of good qualities to it. Oscar Isaac is great. I definitely think that the twist at the end of the episode with Stephen Grant kind of being in the mirror, that's a good hook. Like I hope that we see a lot of some good interplay there. So anyways, guys, I'm sorry. You pretty much took the words out of my mouth as far as like stuff I wanted to say about this. So my thoughts are kind of scattered.
I'll add. So the thing that was the most compelling for me in this episode was like Arthur Harrow's monologue to Steven about like what it means and like what her value is as a god, and like what she utilizes avatars compared to Khonshu. It just the way he delivers it, especially his response to Steven's point about child murder, was just like fascinating, and how just like sane and clinical he was about the whole thing. Like comparing it to like a diseased limb. Mm-hmm. And the whole bullshit about the difference between medicine and poison is dosage. And just like, man, like, it's like the script was that scene was well written, and the way Ethan Hawke delivers it in just that like measured tone really makes me excited for what more we can see with that villain in future episodes.
I love the conversation we have with Harrow, where he's, they're in that kind of little section of town, assuming like I believe it, like probably like a bad neighborhood in London. It seems like because I don't know where they. I assume he's still in London by the end of things. But anyways, it was kind of taking this kind of bad part of town that's been cleaned up by him, because of essentially the vibe I got with Harrow here is, you see what he's going for in that little corner of town. He's rooting out the bad so that good can flourish. Essentially, like a more targeted version of kind of a Ra's al Ghul-esque plan, it seems, in which this guy is. The implication in this episode, I think, is pretty direct. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward that he was the previous host to Khonshu. He was, the previous Moon Knight in question. The Fist of Vengeance, as he mocks. That seems like a confirmation. Okay, he was absolutely the Moon Knight before Mark Spector. So. It seems like, from just contextually from that conversation, I love how he's just kind of calling out. Oh, he says, "What's he saying? I'm real justice right now. He's telling you to kill me, like because he knows how Khonshu thinks, because he's had that guy in his head, and assumedly he got disenfranchised when he learned that when he got wrapped up in Egyptian mythology, and he learned that Khonshu was banished by the other gods, and he sided with Amit, who, as we learn, it's at least the way Khonshu kind of spins it. Amit, Amit decides who's innocent and guilty beforehand, kind of like what we've seen with this, with the little kind of cane, the little scepter cane thing.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Khonshu, basically again operates a little bit more like kind of a vigilante superhero, in which it's like, okay, after the crime has been committed, then I'll make the decision. Like, after they've done, well, again, it's sort of like a precog sort of thing. Like,
yeah, it's got some Minority Report. That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
exactly. So that seems to be the big deciding factor in what kind of maybe soured that relationship and that partnership. I don't know how he got out of it, but he got out of it. So we have really great, interesting layers to Hart in that he absolutely gets what Stephen Grant is going through, only he's really more so relating to Mark's specter, but Mark's kind of in the back burners and not giving Haru time of day.
See, what's interesting, as I think about to an interview that Ethan Hawke provided, it was to Nerdist about this character, and I think this, like, he views the best villains are villains that are foils to the hero.
Mm-hmm.
In his mind, like Moon Knight being such a troubled or a character that's insane, has mental illness. Arthur Harrow, on the other hand, is a character that's like completely whole and completely sane.
Yeah.
And in light of this like revelation about him being a prior, avatar to Khonshu, it really puts things into perspective about, him being, in his mind, Khonshu just sort of, it was such poison and Amit is just a cure. And the whole prior scene where he's like, did Khonshu just choose you because he knew your mind would be broken, or your mind was already broken anyway? And that's how Khonshu took upon his avatar, which is all great.
And I love that, much like Moon Knight has ambiguity about him in so many different facets about, like, mainly how we depict the whole, like, mainly how we stylistically depict things. There's ambiguity in Moon Knight, like, is he crazy, is he not? And we kind of viewed that with the whole invisible jackal thing, which I thought was really clever, because I was really worried in the episode, like, oh no, are we doing the thing where everything that happened in the museum was in his mind? But no, it was just...
I really didn't want them to do the trope of, like, like, oh, he sees the thing and then he goes to warn the people and it's not there. Oh, yep. No, it looks like he's going insane.
Well, that was a satisfying reveal that, okay, so he can see it, but it actually is there.
Yeah, I'm really glad they cleared that up. Yeah.
So that
also,
was,
really quick, can I just say that I am still, like, kind of like reliving some PTSD from my museum days with all the museum trauma.
Did you destroy a bathroom without toilets?
I mean, honestly, me and panic attacks. I didn't destroy a bathroom, but like you can, I had a couple panic attacks there. So, but anyways, it's kind of funny how to me, it's like the most suspenseful thing in this whole show through the first 2 episodes. It's like, oh God, the museum's going to come down hard on Mark. Poor Mark. Or I'm sorry, not Mark. Steven.
I mean,
Mark's not involved in any of this.
Well, I mean, he did destroy the bathroom, though. So
that's true.
See, right. Here's something that's interesting to me is that, like, the whole, like, that scene where, Steven's looking at the camera, and then what we see is what we think is Mark just making that look.
Mm-hmm.
Well, have your whole theories that maybe that wasn't Mark in that scene, that look at the camera was actually Jake Lockley?
Well, it might have been a different personalities.
Yeah,
I saw the theory of the different personality.
There are other personalities other than just the 3 that we have seen so far in the show. Now it's a question if they're going to go as far as to show those characters, which, I mean, it is possible. Like, we don't have we're not in New York, so we don't have the cabbie yet. So I don't know.
I mean, there's cab drivers in London, but that's even beside. I just think about here's the thing. Like, there are certain things revealed in this episode that makes me question certain things that are quote unquote a given, like the whole. So here's the thing: Mark is portrayed, or how I think of he's portrayed in this show. He's portrayed as sort of this mercenary with the past and everything,
mm-hmm.
and yet he's married to this woman, Layla, who's mm-hmm. just like, oh, we go on her, like, you forgot her adventures and everything, and the way she plays off and discusses about the history, I don't get like mercenary vibes. I get more like Nicolas Cage from National Treasure.
Oh, I absolutely get
more archaeologists.
Yeah,
more Indiana Jones archaeologists.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally.
And
I also have some Brendan Fraser mummy vibes as well.
Sure,
obviously, with Egypt stuff.
Honestly, what I think it is, and I mean, what I'm hoping is episode 3 or 4, but particularly 3, just because the pacing we've had so far has been really good. What I'm really hoping is 3, not Not necessarily for the whole episode, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. Only for one, so don't put him in a back to tank, folks. Is a flashback. Seriously, though, because we talked it up, at some point I would like to see the flashback to the origin, which, from what I understand, in essence, is what they said. Where I assume he looked for the scarab. He got it, and ended up getting gunned down. That's when Khonshu came to him and revived him with the deal to become Moon Knight. Assumedly, that's what we're going to see in flashback form, and that's he and Layla were on that adventure to get there. So I do think he was a mercenary, but from what I understand, it's like a mercenary who got turned around into archaeology by proxy of Layla. That is my assumption, but again, we won't know until we either see a flashback or maybe we clarify things a little more.
All right.
But Layla herself, though, just that whole dynamic. Here's the thing.
I like Layla a lot more than I thought I would, just as far as like the wife of the hero goes. She's very dynamic. She's a really dynamic character.
The only issue I had with the episode, honestly, so Layla, I like Layla, I do. I think her introduction was a little bumpy, but she won me over, though, because initially I was like, man, she's a little too skeptical and really slow on the whole DID uptake here. Like, okay, very clearly he's not Mark Spector, okay? Why would he be going to these elaborate measures just to fool you, lady? I mean, put the pieces together. Come on. But anyway, I like how she bonds with Steven on her own, though, and ultimately...
Totally.
So it did pay off, and I'm more so, and here's where they really legitimized things, made things really interesting for me with her, is that the idea that Mark has been really kind of ghosting her and everything because he's trying to protect her from being the next Moon Knight host, or Moon Knight avatar for Khonshu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting idea. Like, okay, that's why it's giving him a good reason for why he's doing things. It's like, what if we gave Spawn depth? Sort of something like that. Like, we give Spawn a reason for not seeing.
It is very Spawn-like, isn't it? I didn't even think about it like that.
I mean, especially the aesthetic and everything. The whole, especially if there's like a
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, and it actually kind of makes, and the thing is, it's not really an empty threat. There's a threat that comes out of nowhere because they're like when you see Layla like actually interact with like the cultists, like she holds her own.
Yeah,
like, she may not be like as skilled as say Mark, but she's certainly not like a quote unquote damsel in distress or just like someone who just knows like the Egyptology part and then just rely on like Mark as like the muscle.
Yeah. Two things I want to hit real quick. Just again, visually, I'm loving that what we're doing with reflections as like a running aesthetic and just kind of running symbol here. Like the whole, like as we mentioned, the whole "that's not me" scene in the museum. He's, we play with how we're reflecting, Mark in conversation with him. Like his eyes are in the reflection of the gun. Like when he puts his name tag down on the table, you have that great symbolic show of like Steven, but you see Mark in the reflection quite possibly. And, we're, the idea we say later on is that, the strongest tether you have to talk and converse with yourself is via a mirror. So again, that's kind of a good motif. And, later on we're cracking that pyramid mirror thing. And
I really like how creative we're getting with the different mirrors.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not just a mirror, it's any sort of reflective surface. And I really hope they keep that up.
It's very Infinity Train-esque.
No,
totally. Yeah, absolutely.
The pistol reflection was
Mm-hmm.
a cool look for when he was in that bunker thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was very. I loved and appreciated like the one scene like when Steven's running away from Khonshu.
Yes.
Frame. And I when I saw that I burst out laughing, just like, oh my god, that's like some Sam Raimi Spider-Man the 2 stuff right there. I appreciate like the show like embracing some level of goofiness and not like.
I just really love that the whole motion sensor light idea. So that just kind of confirms that Khonshu is definitely inhabiting space on some level. He can interact because we saw when he has a temper tantrum, he kind of can throw things across the room, even though he's kind of like again because he's like over his shoulder more so than he is in his head, if that makes any sense. Because he's like in the space. So like when Steven's running throughout that sequence and Khonshu's down the hallway, that's why the lights are coming on flickering. It's not just him like throwing some power there. It's just like, oh god, he is in the space, kind of invisible like those Anubis things.
I almost got like a little bit of a Venom vibe in a good way from that stuff, where it's like he's a god, but he's kind of a pathetic god.
Yeah, so he's the oust god. He's the band.
Yeah,
god.
right.
He's the outcast. And speaking of which, that's
From
the thing.
Good job of losers, Eddie.
Kill him, stab him.
That's the
thing. So
there is a Venom vibe there. There's definitely a Venom vibe.
There's a deleted scene where Steven just like gets into the fish tank, like
God, no, look, but here's the Venom comparison again, because hosts and avatars. I mean, pretty the term they're using is avatar, because I believe there's also an Egyptian connotation to the avatar thing, if memory serves. Could be wrong, but regardless,
wasn't there a joke about like the blue people in the anime in this episode?
Yeah, literally they referenced both.
Yeah, that was great. That was a good joke.
Yeah, that was last episode. Yeah.
Oh, it was last episode? Oh, my bad.
Yeah, last episode when he was, I believe,
being confronted by Hera in the museum.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, for sure. Sorry.
Again, everyone's
short-term memory, people.
Okay, point being, regardless, again, even though it's an avatar specifically, again, the host thing very much breeds a lot of Venom comparisons, and it does definitely spell like, man, the MCU can never, like, if they ever want to do Venom on their own terms, they cannot do it like we kind of done it already perfectly with Moon Knight. One could say,
yeah, exactly. I mean, if they did Venom on their own terms, I would want it to take on a more horror direction. Anyways, I mean, I like the Venom movies for how goofy they are, but it's like I still would really love like a more kind of horror take on the character.
That's the thing. If we do like a black suit saga with Spider-Man, then assumedly we would definitely get into
totally, yeah.
Remember, the symbiote is in the MCU currently, but
of course,
it's been altered even to being a little.
I don't even know what the fuck the post-credit scene from Morbius is, and I don't really care. But I've just heard terrible things about it.
Yeah, you don't want to know. I've seen it. You don't want to know.
Oh, you so God. Why, Dragon? Why do you have to? You're okay. Hold on. I'm gonna pause the conversation right here.
Come on, we're in the middle of stuff.
No. Seriously, you can go out to the theaters to see fucking Morbius, but you're not gonna see Everything Everywhere all at once.
Yeah, I agree with Tiki there.
Wait, that's the Michelle Yeoh movie.
Yes.
Huh.
I mean, I know that you have transportation issues. I know, and I get that, but still.
I mean, there's that, and again, I saw. You know why I saw that movie, and I was just saying that's the main reason people are ticked off.
All right.
It did not pan out the way I hoped it would. I'll say that. Anyway, let's see. I try to keep my misses theatrically to a very minimum, so hopefully that's my one and done for the year. But we'll see. Let's see. Where are we going? Oh, right. Anyway, so okay, off the Venom point. But yeah, I mean, honestly, just our sense of aftermath with the museum thing, the fact that we kind of call that out. Like, there were some fun, like, subversions where he's not just getting, like, we're not doing the typical cliche thing where it's like, what happened here? You're in so much trouble. Okay, well, realistically, he's in trouble, but they're really supportive. Like, you have some friends here, we're like, they try to give him some actual help. Give him the brochures and everything. They let again. It's kind of like the polite British way of doing things. Like, okay, well,
yeah, totally. Like, you're still fired, but
America, he like Steven would be in jail, like just rotting away.
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
So, one thing I do appreciate, in the first episode, they don't do the thing where like what Steven's actually punching like wasn't a jackal; it was just like a random person. Like just going for that like needlessly dark edge. Where it's like, oh, he's
like, oh no, what's wrong with him?
Yeah,
yeah. The other thing too, a big subversion. I kind of breathed a sigh of relief at because at first I was like, "Oh no, we've made a big misstep with this. It's going to be one of those missteps with the episode where we have what seems to be really abrasive detectives kind of come in and like they find the bag and it's like, okay, well, we're taking you downtown. It's like, oh, this is something. Our pricing was so good, we don't need this. And then
I totally agree. Girl. Yeah, it was a great it was such a relief when they pull up at the Colt compound.
Yep,
I was like, oh, thank God.
They got the scale.
Thank God. Oh man,
the heroes guns.
I 100%. I shared the same exact relief, Dragon.
Yeah, but then so that brings the big kind of our visual kind of namesake for this episode here. So let's talk about. So this is something me, Tig. I mentioned this in the first episode. I've been waiting to see this guy pop up. I'm waiting to see the Mr. Knight look in the show. I got an episode 2, which I did not expect. Like, oh boy, he's in the suit already. How cool was that? So this is the thing is a deal breaker for folks, from what I understand with this episode. This is the first, again, the show has been really divorced from kind of how the MC has been doing things. This is the first one people are either liking or they're not liking the fact that we have a little bit of comedy infused in our action with Mr. Knight, which I'm just going to
It's
take
the MCU, for fuck's sake.
I'm just saying,
literally every one of the MCU movies are comedies.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Some people who are
Right.
like really looking for people are looking for a change. I'm not agreeing with that, Tiki. I'm just saying that people are really...
Look, if we go into Blade and it's just like a joke a minute, then yeah, sure, but...
So here's the thing. The balance for me is that I like it. I think the legit argument would be that, I'm going to make the assumption that Mr. Knight's probably a little bit, just given his design, is a little more severe, this personality in the comic, when he just has the mask on and the suit on. I'm going to take a guess.
Yeah, Mr. Knight is kind of like, at least as I understand, I've not read those comics, the way I understand Mr. Knight, like, he's his own different persona that's basically like a paranormal investigator. That's a little rough and tumble with, like, criminals and like supernatural threats.
Okay.
So I think when people who like are fans of that iteration run or whatever, like see this, like it's like how some people give Lucian regard like Thor Ragnarok. I don't know if it's
that's kind of what that's essentially what I've been teeing up with. All some people aren't a little kind of like some people are a little touchy about the comedy in the MCU after a while. That's kind of the...
But I mean, that's literally the franchise, though.
I know. But again, I think the legit argument for maybe some people not crazy about Mr. Knight is like, I think for the diehard Moonies, let's call them.
No, can we not call them that?
Really? They don't like that? No.
It just sounds like everyone. It's just people are really just mooning people.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thought that came to mind for me.
Okay, fine. Regardless, I think perhaps the diehard Moon Knight fans or aficionados, if you will, they're probably going to be like, well, no, that character should have been an entirely different personality, which again makes me think perhaps we're sticking to 3 personalities. We'll see. Again, that could always be a surprise factor. Okay, well, it's more than 3. Well, look at Split. Split had like a whole bunch of personalities. Why can't we have more than 3?
Well, you know what? I'm glad that they're keeping it limited, because I feel like keeping it limited because Split is like one of the more obvious comparisons, right? And so far, I am not really feeling, this is just like Split. But if you were to become like a whole bunch of different characters, then I would feel that, because
right now it's 3 characters with very distinct
purposes. And the whole gimmick of Split isn't just that he's playing different characters; is that he's playing a bunch of different characters. So,
regardless, here's the thing: I'm happy. I love the design. What I'm interested in is the fact that, okay, we found a way to put Steven in the action, have him be conscious during the action sequences. And again, we have some of our, kind of our MCU fare where, okay, it's kind of a guy figuring out his powers for the first time, a little bit of that, kind of like one could say, like from the Raimi Spider-Man, the whole like fly web, So, we have, like, I love the bit where he kind of pulls out almost the Daredevil style, billy clubs and batons. Like, oh, these are kind of cool, actually. So that's adorable, and also calling out the whole Psycho Colonel Sanders look. I love that. That's all great. Yeah. The one moment where I'm thinking, maybe we should just rein in the line just a little bit. I don't mind like him, like learn the ropes and everything, and just kind of be in the action. Like, I have enhanced strength. I'm wearing the suit and stuff. When after he lands his first punch and he's going, it's just a little victory dance.
Walk one is
little, that exactly. Little much.
I didn't mind that, honestly.
Again, that's not a deal breaker.
I mean, I get it for I totally get it in the context of like the Steve, because that to me is totally like a Stephen Grant thing to do.
Yeah.
I get it in the context of like Mr. Knight is not supposed to be Stephen Grant, but like in the context of this, where Stephen Grant is Mr. Knight, I think it totally fits.
So, I mean, so far I see potential in like making Steven Mr. Knight. Potentially he maybe gets a little more competent in the throes of things as he kind of gets caught up to speed and perhaps works with Moon Knight, the whole Moon Knight entity. Yeah.
You hit on an interesting thing. Like, it'd be so cool if not just throughout the show, but throughout like future seasons or future like appearances, like the alters change, not like not drastically, but subtly get like inherit aspects from each other. So like Steven gets a little bit more like tougher or a little bit more brutal, and that aspect from Mark, and maybe Mark is a little bit more awkward.
I like that.
Yeah.
Not bad. So speaking of which, Mark Spector then takes over, and we have the awesome Moon Knight theme playing. He's in the full suit, and we have to get all of our money shots as he's doing the rooftop jump against the crescent moon. Just
Moon
awesome.
Knight jumping over the moon should like be Disney's new Tinkerbell.
I mean, it should literally be like the Plus logo. Remember the Plus logo was just the little shooting star thing. It's like, yeah, that's your Disney. They've been kind of using that. If you look at the marketing, they've been like, and then Moon Knight jumped over the moon. It's
Take
so
that, DreamWorks. We have a better logo involving the moon.
That would be Disney's ultimate screw you. We got a cool guy in an awesome costume jumping over the moon.
Yeah, what do you get?
You got a kid with a fishing line.
Oh, God.
That's all you got. A little boy with a stick and a rope.
Oh,
yeah. That kid's not gonna impale a jackal on top of
he's not gonna kill a jackal.
Yeah. Man, I was watching that. I was watching the episode with a friend of mine. Once Moon Knight did that, we both said I said fatality. Moon Knight wins. Ooh, Moon Knight would be a great character to show up as a guest character for a Mortal Kombat game.
He does fit the mold.
Oh, he would. Yeah, absolutely. He fits the aesthetic really well.
So, again, interestingly, and I love this, for the first time, we kind of acknowledge, like, Steven is inside kind of he's inside the mirror. So, you know, he kind of...
I'm really excited about that. I really hope the cold open for the next episode shows his perspective.
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be Mark's. I think it's going to be a Mark Spector episode anyway, sliced. So he'll be the conscience. Here's what I think the dynamic's going to be. I think he'll be the conscience versus the aggressive guy, and the calming voice. It'll be like the conscience of like, no, Mark, don't do these things. Yeah, he'll be the Jiminy Cricket for Moon Knight. I think
these things, Mark.
Oh, see, it would be cool is that like the first 2 episodes was like Steven was in the main driving seat, or main point of view. Mm-hmm. 3rd and 4th episode, Mark is like our POV character, and then 5th and 6th is where Jake Lockley is like our POV character.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
Could be. So yeah, but I love just the honesty in that conversation about like, is this how it feels? And it's just very, it's like it feels uncomfortable to him. They kind of tells him, kind of talks him through a panic attack inside the mirror, essentially, like just breathe, it's going to be okay. And I love that he gets under Mark Spector's skin by pointing out, and he's not wrong at all. Again, the whole conscience thing coming into play here, the fact that you're hurting people, not just physically, you're hurting the people who care about you around. With
I really like how by the end of that conversation, he essentially becomes like a tough love Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah. Yeah, Pinocchio, what are you doing? You almost turn into a donkey. Your poor father's worried about you. You try to go in the show business. What's wrong with you, kid?
Jiminy Cricket did not hold up for me on a rewatch of Pinocchio, by the way.
Yeah, I don't understand how that happens, but sure. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of a cool ending where I love this as Conscious after he has his little kind of powwow with him saying like, hey, I did not. You promised me none of this would happen. Like, no, look, I'm handling it. It's fine. And he basically, okay, we got to get the scarab back. So it's kind of where we're taking next episode. Haro now has the scarab, and assumedly he's going to use that scarab to unleash a myth the way that Khonshu has been unleashed. Mm-hmm. And they're going to go to Egypt to do that. So like, where the heck do you think we're going? And of course, wake up in Egypt. Pretty cool.
I'm really excited about the potential of next episode. I know I keep saying this, but like, let's give us like, almost like an unofficial return to form of like a true blue, like Brendan Fraser mummy style Egypt adventure. Yeah, I am so down for that.
Yeah.
No, I remember Mohamed Diab, the director of like 4 of the 6 episodes. He directed episode 1, not episode 2. He's gonna be directing the 3rd episode. He really wanted to make sure that like the Egypt, like they didn't shoot actually in Egypt, they shoot in Jordan, and Dick Jordan's standing in for Egypt.
Okay.
He wanted to make sure that like the way it's depicted was like natural, authentic. It didn't have like the stereotypes that people have when doing stuff. And specifically the one like key thing that like I really liked at the end of episode 2 was that like there's not that like yellow brown filter thing or color lens when you see scenes shot in Egypt. It makes it more exotic or foreign looking.
Right. Totally. Yeah. Another thing I like is that we get to see like a lot of the city streets of Egypt, because I feel like that's another sort of cliche with how Egypt's depicted on film is like, it's just the pyramids and nothing else.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, also fun thing. It was interesting. I didn't notice this like when I first watched it, but someone pointed out like in breaking down the episode, Mark is wearing I think like the Star of David necklace at the end. So when he's just like laying on the bed, with just like and like drinking and sort of a very clear nod to like Apocalypse Now. When
Oh
Mark,
yeah, totally, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see like how his like Judaism will be explored in this show.
Uh-huh. All right, cool. I think any last words from anyone?
Again, so far so good.
That,
Let's
that was
keep
kind of
going.
a morbid way to put that.
Ooh,
I apologize.
ooh. I would love for a flashback scene where you see Arthur Harrow like put on a Moon Knight costume that's like unique to him.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, totally. Except the only thing about that I wouldn't dig is just like with Arthur Harrow, the way that he's like he's already gotten away from the trope of like, oh, he's the bad guy is like a mirror image of the hero.
Sure.
But it would be yet another like, okay, he's fighting a bad guy with the same suit.
I mean, it's kind of like if anything, he's kind of like Black Adam or Sinestro.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I really, honestly, what I think is like if we do that, it's going to be in flashback. But I'd like to think they're going to learn from that, and we're just going to have him like.
I would love to see him in flashback in a different suit for sure.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I think ultimately is it'll be really impressive if Haro is still just the guy with the cane, like during the climax, it's just the god that's doing his fighting for him. I think if in a perfect world we might do that, but we'll see. Like, I don't want him to suit up either. Honestly, at the end, I wouldn't. Again, if they could sell me on it, if it's cool enough and it's like not just the Moon Knight costume, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that'll about do it for us tonight, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And let me just pull up the outro. That'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just plus. And us.
Psycho Colonel Sanders.
Thank you.